Alison Sargent is with me on the set today to take a look at what the papers have been saying. Hi, Alison.
Hi, Jeannie.
You're starting with this story from Tunisia where there's been unrest over the death of a man who was killed when the newsstand he was sleeping in was demolished by the police.
That's right, Jeannie. This newsstand belonged to his son. It was illegal, which is why Tunisian authorities were destroying the structure. But there was no warning. They didn't even check to make sure no one was inside. This happened in the middle of the night, Monday, in the central city of Spatla, and it has sparked protests in response. People blocking roads, setting fire to cars. The paper Asaba notes that authorities are investigating the tragedy and the national government has fired the local authorities who are responsible. Still, another paper, Asahafa, says that firing those responsible really isn't enough. They say it won't take away the prejudice that led to this man's death. According to the paper, the city has long been using repressive means to contain disorder and really police the poor population that's forced to sort of live outside of the law.
Let's go now to the United States. Early voting there is underway in several states, including Texas, which started on Tuesday. Many polling locations already recording record turnout.
That's right. Turnout was especially high in the city of Houston. The Houston Chronicle reports that Harris County, where Houston is located, smashed its record for early voting. The result was long lines and wait times of at least 40 minutes, but the paper reports that voters were still incredibly determined. And one of the reasons for that, the paper says, is anxiety over voting rights. Some reporters talked to people who said they wanted to use absentee ballots, but then they decided that it was safer to come in person, especially when they learned that the number of boxes where they can drop off their absentee ballots is being limited to one box per county. Now, that has actually been the topic of a huge legal battle in Texas. The state's Republican governor ordered that each county would only have one drop-off location, no matter the county's population. As you might imagine, that creates a major obstacle to voters in urban Democratic counties like Harris County, where Houston is. Civil rights groups did challenge this order in court, and they initially won, but then, right before voting started, the Texas Appeals Court overturned the ruling and sided with the Republican governor to limit the number of drop-off spaces.
Alison, you mentioned those long lines, 40 minutes. There were lines of up to 6 hours in places like Georgia, and those massive lines is getting a lot of attention, with the Washington Post saying it's a bad sign for democracy.
That's right. High turnout is, of course, a good thing, but long lines are not. In an editorial, the Washington Post writes that for too many people, voting has become an ordeal, and there's a real danger that voters are going to get discouraged. The election is less than a month away, but the Washington Post writes that there's still time, and they've encouraged states to change the rules to make it easier for voters to cast their ballots. They very specifically do call out Texas and that law limiting ballot drop-off locations that I was talking about. Long lines, meanwhile, are also the topic of this cartoon from the New York Daily News. We can see this parent saying to his kid, you used to only see long lines at the movie theaters. And the kid, sadly, is responding, what were movie theaters? Of course, this is sort of a summary of voting in the time of coronavirus.
That's a good cartoon. All right, let's move now from the United States to Germany, where the country's justice ministry got into trouble for trying to use less sexist language.
That's right, Jean. Now, laws are usually drafted using the masculine form of words to sort of apply universally to everyone. This is something we women are quite used to, kind of seeing the generality in the masculine form. Germany's justice ministry, though, decided to do something sort of revolutionary, and they drafted a law using the feminine form of words like employee and landlord, meaning it to apply to everyone. But it turns out the country isn't quite ready for that yet. The Interior Ministry in Germany demanded a revision of the bill. They were worried people would read it and think it only applied to women and that would make the law unconstitutional. I have to give The Guardian a shout out for their Anglo-German pun headline there. Never say die or never say die, which is, of course, the female form in German for the.
Well found. All right, gender, also the theme of your next story, Alison. This is a controversial photo of the Finnish Prime Minister.
That's right, Jeannie. I'll have you take a look at it for yourself, and our viewers can judge for themselves. It's you can see it again here in Le Monde. It shows Sanna Marin wearing a blazer with nothing underneath it. It was published on the Instagram account of a women's magazine. Le Monde writes that it's gotten a lot of criticism, people calling it indecent and unprofessional. Critics accuse the Prime Minister of sort of playing the model when the country is in the midst of a pandemic. But then hundreds of Finnish women came to her defense. They posted photos of themselves in low-cut tops using the hashtag #I'mWithSanna.
Maybe she's got on one of those transparent undergarments.
Like maybe there is a shirt under there.
Maybe
It's
there
just
is a
very low
shirt.
down.
Give her the benefit of the doubt. All right, let's wrap up now with a much less divisive image. It's this year's winner of the Wildlife Photography Award.
Yes, Judy, and it's a lovely image. You can take a look at it in The Guardian. It's a picture of a Siberian tiger hugging a Manchurian fir tree. It was given out at London's Natural History Museum. The head of the judging panel called it a unique glimpse of an intimate moment deep in a magical forest. The photographer's name is Sergei Gorshkov. He's from Russia. He spent 11 months using hidden cameras just to get this image in the Siberian forest. A reminder that patience pays off.
And he doesn't really look like he would kill you, does he?
No, it's such a sweet,
kind of cuddly.
You want to cuddle with that tiger.
Allison, thank you so much. Allison Sargent there for that look at your press review. That wraps it up for me this hour. Focus is coming up next, and Live from Paris continues at the top of the hour.